tuning in. You're now listening to the hottest podcast show in the world, The Dilemma, with your hosts Shantae and Gemini. Be sure to hit that like button, comment, and share the episode to friends and family. Anyone looking to be a part of this live broadcasting, call in at 702-605-4836.
Okay.
Good evening.
Jumping into it.
All right.
We late as fuck, so we gonna hurry up and jump into it. So. All right. So the title of today is Mississippi. Okay. So I know that we already did a show on Mississippi, and we just touched briefly on, situation that was going on.
There's so many things going on in Mississippi.
First of all, I want to start out with this. We need to draw attention to, what's going on in Mississippi overall. Okay? Now, just recently, news reporter Barbara Bassett was fired from her position
as news anchor. Okay? Now,
I want you guys to listen to. She has several incidents, of things that she said, that caused some controversy. Okay? Now, first thing that was said, I want you guys to listen to this and then, just get a feel of, and this is a news anchor in Mississippi. So I just want you to get an overall feel of how they feel about us in Mississippi.
Yes. And please call in. Let us know how you feel. Call
702-605-4836. Okay, so listen to this.
Carmen, girl, sis, I know you well enough to know that those guys working behind you, they probably know who the celebrity game day picker is. So, you need to go swing by the Kroger's, get you a chocolate pie.
A chocolate.
Well, pecan pie would be just as fine. And you need to go offering it to some of those guys working behind you.
And get the scoop.
And see if you can get the scoop from one of those.
Now listen to
or
this.
return. I know your mother or your grandmammy has got.
Grandmammy.
Now, keep in mind, she's talking to another host, a co-host,
a news anchor.
Okay, another news anchor that is black. Okay, so as you heard, she went into the conversation saying, "Girl, sis." Okay.
You need to go to Kroger's.
You need to go to Kroger's and purchase.
Has anybody ever heard of a chocolate pie?
Well, what she was telling her was to go offer them her chocolate pie. Pretty much. That's how I took it. Now,
because I'm like, chocolate pie. What?
Now,
I've never heard.
I don't know. I know when I was coming up, Mammy, and I mean,
it's a high key racist statement.
Listen, Mammy, this is what Mammy means. We need to all have a full understanding of what Mammy means, whether it's Mammy or Grandmammy.
Talk about it.
Mammy was just another word for black female slaves that took care of their slave owners' children. Okay? So, pretty much what she was doing was she was insinuating that other news anchor's grandmother was a slave. Okay? Now, if you listen, look how easy it rolled off her tongue.
But no. Also, listen to the co-anchor speak in the background as well. I'm talking about the Caucasian gentleman.
Right.
You
And
know,
Well, it
who
was-
just
says there's
just-
nothing better.
Well, he hadn't tried anything for Julie Leavenway yet.
I agree with that.
You know how
Yeah,
Snoop
you see what I'm
and Martha
saying?
Stewart
Had
Right
a
there.
collaboration, yes.
He ought to have a collaboration with Julie. No telling what Snoop Dogg and Julie Leavenway could come up with.
I think that'd be pretty cool.
Before we
Now
know it,
listen
she'd
to
have a
this.
Snoop Dogg tattoo on her shoulder.
For shizzle and nizzle.
And he thought it was just so funny. He's just geek. Now, if you look at both comments, if you listen and watch both casts, both newscasts, you can see the other co-host, the other white co-host, he's just laughing it up. It's just so funny. But if you pay attention to the black anchors,
Carmen, girl, sis, I know you well enough to know that those guys working behind you, they probably know who the celebrity game day picker is. So, you need to go swing by the Kroger's.
swing
you a-
by the
a-
Krokers.
Yes. Swing by.
A chocolate.
Well, pecan pie would be just as fine. And you
And
need
he
to
said
go
a chocolate
offering
pie.
it to some of those
Because
guys.
even
No,
he was
no.
all like,
She said, or
And see if you
pecan
can get the
pie.
scoop from one of
She
those
said,
for
or
the
pecan
return.
pie.
whatever of your
I
choosing.
know your mother or your grandmammy has got.
Come on now.
Now,
Come on now.
one after another, she used insults on this other black anchor. Very unprofessional. But she later apologized for what she said.
She sure
But-
did.
Months later, she went on to say,
And Snoop Dogg says there's nothing better.
Well, he hadn't tried anything for Julie Leavenway yet.
I agree with that.
You know how Snoop and Martha Stewart get
Had a
together.
collaboration, yes.
He ought to have a collaboration with Julie. No telling what Snoop Dogg and Julie Leavenway could come up with.
I think that'd be pretty cool.
Before we know it, she'd have a Snoop Dogg tattoo on her shoulder.
For shizzle and nizzle.
But I'm gonna say this. He's cheerleading it on.
well, it's the comfortability of it, you know.
Right.
And that's all I want to point out. Now, I don't really fault her too much for saying for shizzle my nizzle, because you and I both know that everybody can associate that with Snoop Dogg. And just like it's ain't nothing but a G thing, it's, you know,
Or just
The
Martha,
cr- you know-
and Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg. Period. You can associate with.
sure. So, I mean, I can understand her reaching in and pulling that out and using that as a
I feel
promotional
like-
tool for Snoop Dogg.
Right.
Okay.
And that was more so of trying to get on the.
That was
better
more
bandwagon.
appropriate,
Yeah.
shall I say. Now, she was fired for
Right.
this.
But was not reprimanded for. You should go to
Go ask your...
Kroger. Go to
Listen.
Kroger.
She said ask your mom,
Mom
or
or
your
your
grandmammy. Now,
But-
if it was
The
me...
whole, the whole term, the whole statement from beginning to end.
If it was me, we would have had to fight. Because
What do you mean?
I mean, you have to give into consideration she knows nothing about this woman's grandmother.
Family period.
So for her to insinuate that she was a slave, a black slave,
Mammy. Grandmammy.
I think that was completely disrespectful.
But to fire her.
Find you
Get the scoop.
and see if you can get the scoop from one of those for return. I know your mother or your grandmammy has got.
Yeah. That was. But to be reprimanded for saying for shizzle my nizzle.
Okay, I think that she should have been fired on the first case.
On the first. Right. That's what I'm saying. To be reprimanded for saying for sure my nizzle.
Right.
But
that
not
should have been, okay,
it
we
being-
gonna give you a warning on
being
it.
allowed to give an apology after the fact.
Right. Because she clearly, I don't think that, she was meaning any harm. I think that she was really trying to relate to Snoop Dogg. So,
Get back on the
when we
bandwagon.
looking at
Whatever.
Mississippi,
However we want to call it.
we have to understand how they've just been groomed to accept this treatment. Like I say, they still have signs posted for where black people can and can't go. Now, I understand we reserve the right to refuse service, but we need to understand certain situations and where we live.
Right.
Now,
Right.
we're talking about Mississippi. This is the same place where a 25-year-old black man went missing,
Rasheem.
was found
name.
decapitated,
Rasheem Carter.
called his mother during
Say his name.
this incident, let her know what was going on.
Two Rankin County men are accusing the sheriff's department of excessive force after an arrest led to one of the suspects being shot.
So this is Lee Wing spoke with the plaintiffs in this case and their attorneys. And Leah, what are they saying so far?
Well, Byron, Michael Jenkins says a Rankin County deputy handcuffed and shot him in the mouth 3 weeks ago. He says he was discharged from UMMC yesterday. Jenkins and another man, Eddie Parker, say they were in Eddie's home in Braxton when 6 deputies entered without a warrant and abused them. Attorneys say Jenkins was charged with aggravated assault and possession of a controlled substance, and Parker was charged with disorderly conduct and possession of drug paraphernalia. Now they are calling for those charges to be dropped and for the deputies involved to face consequences.
These officers used and violated the laws of excessive force, illegal search and seizure, inadequate training and supervision against Rankin County. They don't supervise and monitor anything.
Nothing.
We were beaten, we were, handcuffed. It was
And-
traumatizing, man. It was a night of hell, something I never thought I would go through.
And this happened to these men because they date white women. Okay? This is two other black guys in Mississippi that were abused by the law. By the law. Now, there are
In plain
so
view,
many.
nonetheless. To me, Rasheem Carter was a more isolated incident.
Okay,
And
now
these
listen.
gentlemen,
We
were
have
in
to
plain
understand the state. Okay?
plain view.
And we have to fight back against these small counties that are, like I say, lynching
And we're
black
speaking to
people.
those in the actual county in which these things are transpiring. It's not okay. These things are not okay.
But listen, okay, so with the Rasheem Carter, the mom has to rely on the investigation that was made so far, which was pretty much nothing, and rely on what she's been told by the law. The same law that tortured 2 black men because they date white women.
Talk about it.
The same state that's comfortable with calling us black slaves. So it clearly shows that Mississippi only identifies us as that.
They ain't never let go. They have not ever let go of anything that transpired years ago.
So
18,
explain
19.
to me